Welcome to It's Beyond the Food podcast, my sister. I'm your host, Stephanie Dodier, and today is a Coach Corner episode that is going to be focused on business skills, not coaching skills. And we're going to talk about the way that I go through quarters review, so blocks of 3 months in every year period, and how I update my goals. And I'm going to be sharing my personal and business goal for the next 3 months. So for the spring of 2026. So it's going to be a completely transparent episode. You're going to see the behind the scene and the process that I used to coach myself in my coaching business. Now, before we get started, I want to give you a personal update because it links to the quarterly coaching review that I'm doing with myself, and it's going to help you get some context. So I'm recording this on April the 15th. The last 2 months, from a business perspective, has been significant. We have undertaken a migration from our CRM that we had been with. So CRM being a customer relationship management software. Basically, I run an online coaching company, and my entire business fits into my laptop and various software that I use. And one of the main software was a company called Entreport. And we had grown separately over the last 10 years, me and Entreport. They had taken a direction that wasn't supporting my needs anymore. And I had been hesitant, to be quite honest. I'd been avoiding the behavior of migrating my company from service that had been with me for 10 years. I'd been with Entreport for 10 years, and now I have migrated to a new CRM called Kajabi, which is specifically built for online coaching businesses model. And I had been thinking about that for almost 2 years and avoiding it because of the massive amount of work it represented and other priority we had as a company. And I decided to do it. And so that's been what we have been focused on from about mid-January to the last couple weeks. And tomorrow we're launching one of the last elements of moving with this new CRM. Not only are we moving the same type of product over, but given this new company is focused on serving company like mine, there's a lot of new things we'll be able to integrate in our business to serve our client better. And one of them is their private online community platform. So if you are one of my clients, and what I mean by client is somebody that has purchased a product from me, that could be a course, that could be a coaching program, that could be private coaching. Like if you have given me to some degree money, you've been a client of mine in the last 9 years, check your email on April 16, 2026. You have an email from us inviting you in our private community, which will be something that we go forward, tag along, give as a bonus to every one of our paid products. So that's kind of the end phase of this big migration period we have been doing in the last quarter. And that is a intrinsic part of my review and my goals for the next quarter. So since this is not a typical Coach Corner episode, I do not have a script for this episode. I have my handy notebook. So if you're watching on YouTube, you're seeing me showing you my black notebook. I've been with this company of notebook, I don't know, Moleskine for, I don't know, more than a decade, to tell you how old I am. And I have my board, which you do not see on the screen. Actually, I'm just going to take a moment for the viewer on YouTube to show you. I have this it's not a flip board, but it's a dry erase board that's in the corner of my office. So if you're on audio right now, you heard the clinging around. That was me moving what I call my goal board. Every quarter I erase it, put my new goals for the next 3 months, and I've been doing that for a very long time. That's all I have for today. I'm going to try to stay succinct and concise, but pray for me because I'm not good at not talking too much. That's why usually I have a script. So now that we've put the warning on the side, let's dive in. This episode is coming in on the tail end of my alumni quarterly review. My alumni group is a group of professionals that have gone through the non-diet coaching certification that work with me, continue to get coached by me as an alumni of the non-diet coaching certification. And one of the things that we do is a quarterly review. So every 3 months, we meet and then go through a process that I'm going to partly share with you here today, and that you're going to have an opportunity to come and do with me. Just hold on. I'm going to share with you an opportunity to come do this process with me in the next week. But anyway, I go through this process with the alumni group, and the feedback that I have received from our Q1 review was phenomenal. And I decided to share the result of this for my business and bring you in the back end of my business with this podcast episode. Now, another thing to note, some of you who may be new around here, I'm going to tell you this story because it's very important to understand. I talk a fair amount about business when you take any high-end coaching experience with me, be it in group coaching, any type of professional training, because business for me is something that I'm extremely familiar with because of my first career. So if you don't know, from the age of 23 to 38 years old, I was in the corporate world. I had a business corporate career before becoming a nutritionist. Again, some background. I studied to be a health professional in my late teens up to the age of about 22. When I dropped out of school, I was in my second diploma at the time and dropped out, decided to go travel, backpack, and never went back to school. Instead, I got to work with this retailer in Canada called Hudson's Bay Company. And I started as a cashier at 23 years old. And by the time I left at 38, I was the vice president of store operations for the company. So all that to say that I'm very qualified to talk about business. And that's why I integrated freely and easily in all of my professional training program, because for me, I don't need a book. It's just in my blood from 15 years of intense training. And that's in part where those quarterly review come from, because I was doing them for 15 years in the business world. And so for me, it was very natural to integrate them when I started my entrepreneurial journey in 2012 to keep looking at my result in a very structured format. So that's what I bring. That's the bonus of coming into my world as a professional. I bring this whole business background to the place, and that's what I share with the alumni group. And that's what I'm going to share with some of you who decide to come to my workshop on April the 24th, called the Biz Spring Reset, because the first quarter is really about setting ourselves up for the spring season, which is the month of April, May, and June. And so that's what we're going to do on April the 24th in the afternoon, EST time, for about 3 hours. We're going to use the same process I lead my alumni group through, the one that I use for myself. We're going to look at your first 3 months of the year. We're going to check in, both business and personal. And then we're going to look at the trends in the market, both from a coaching industry and a marketing trends. And we're going to look at the plans that you have for April, May, and June, the second quarter of the year, and perhaps make some modification, come out with the plan. And then I'm going to do my cognitive behavior coach stuff. And I'm going to teach you some mindset tools that we use to drive behavior in our business, because that's what business is all about. Business is about having specific behavior as an entrepreneur that creates value into the world, that people want to buy that value from you, and that they give you value in exchange for what you provide to them. They have a problem, you have a solution, you charge for it, they give you that money, and you help them solve their problem. That's what we're going to do on April the 24th. It's $50 for 3 hours, and I would love to teach you that process. So, what is the quarterly review? For me, it's a very unique process because my business philosophy is very unique and it's very niche. In the same way that I teach health, nutrition, and coaching, I don't teach it to everybody who does health or any health professional. I have a very niche environment, so people that help with a weight neutral lens. Same thing in business. I don't teach all the formats of business. I have a very niche approach that's called a lifestyle business model. So what's a lifestyle business model? Lifestyle business is a type of business model that is primarily aimed and focused on supporting the owner of the company to provide them with an income level and personal freedom so that they can prioritize their passion beyond work, right? So instead of being focused in a typical profitability focused type of business, like a typical corporate business on profitability, rapid growth, maximum profit, and growth, so you could potentially sell the business, and that's where you can make a chunk of money with it. A lifestyle business is about creating yourself an income so that you can live the life that you want, the type of life that you want. And for me, I chose this business model because in that second phase of my life, that third career, another podcast, another day, third career, I wanted a location freedom business that allowed me to travel. And the lifestyle business model fit that. The priority was my well-being, me being able to be location free and being able to travel while earning an income. For other women in my world, it's about being a mother, being able to homeschool children, being able to have two businesses, like multi-passionate people that want to do multiple things. So a lifestyle business is a business built on achieving that first. And for me, the way that I teach it, the primary focus is your own well-being. So if you're listening to this podcast and you are a health professional service provider of some kind, you probably have had, just like me, your own health journey that led you to help other people today. So the last thing you want is creating a business, going into this entrepreneurial journey and being sick again, right? Triggering yourself again into a situation where you've been before. So when I do a quarterly business review, my first concern is my own well-being. So when I do a quarterly business review, I not only look at my business, but also how I felt through this quarter personally as the person behind this business. And quite honestly, as the person at the front of this business too, in delivering the service, how did I feel through that? And then I look at the specific business tactic and the result that it gave me. Now, the other thing that's very unique to this business review process that I do is that I am a behavioral coach. So I do think, behave, like act in my business and teach business from the lens of behavioral science and psychology. For me, there's no way I can put that aside and look at my business and not think through those two lenses. So the result in my business that I'm looking at, evaluating, questioning, and deciding of what I'm going to do in the next 3 months, I think of it as an outcome of my behavior as the entrepreneur through the lens of my thoughts and my emotion. That's why I integrate mindset coaching in my review, but also from the lens of my client. because the way that I think about business is that it's a shared value experience, right? I have value, and the value that I offer to the world is my weight neutral approach to health, cognitive behavior coaching, my 15 years experience in corporate business. Like, I've got a bunch of things about me that are extremely valuable that when I package in an offer, I can fundamentally solve other problems that people have, right? People come to me because they want to switch their business from a weight-centric approach to health to weight-neutral approach to health. I have value and skills that can help them achieve that goal. And I package it together in an offer called the non-diet coaching certification that I price, and that these people that have a problem wanting to switch from weight-centric to weight-neutral give me what is valuable to them, their money, in exchange for me, my value, helping them achieve their goals. So it's an exchange of value. And in order for people to have the behavior of purchasing, right, buying, giving me money, putting their credit card on the order form, that's a behavior. They need to have certain thoughts about me. They need to feel a certain way about me in order to produce the behavior of buying a solution from me. That's how I think about marketing. That's how I think about business, because at the core of it, I am a coach. So I look at business from a very different perspective. So when I think about my quarterly review, I integrate all those things together. So another thing that's important for you to understand, and this is a stake in the ground that I have, if you are an entrepreneur and a business owner, you should have a high-level yearly plan. And that I do also with my clients. So anybody who is part of the alumni that's graduated from the certification, attend an event that I do every November called Amplify. And then we sit down and we create a high-level plan for your business for the following year. So I have that in the background. And then with that, I do a quarterly review of my own well-being and my business's well-being. I go and check in because things change. And more than ever, things change. I mean, I'm not going to give you a list of all the things that have happened so far just in 2026, politically, economically, from a social perspective. There's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of change in emotions and feelings and thoughts and behavior. And from a digital business perspective, man, things evolve so fast. So yeah, we do have a plan at high level. I have a plan for my business for 2026, but I have to consider everything that's changing, everything that's happening in the life of my client, and adapt to this. Like being an entrepreneur in the 2020s, one of your skill that you need to have in order to be successful is the capacity to adapt. And I will say also resiliency, which, by the way, is two skills that are born from your nervous system capacity. So your capacity to have through the highs and lows from a behavior perspective, to consistently have the behavior that will give you success in your business, that stems from your ability of your own nervous system ebb and flow. So this capacity to adapt is more relevant than ever. And it's the power of a lifestyle business to be flexible and adaptable. So I adapt my yearly plan based on what's going on in the world right now. So that's why there's the first part of a quarterly review for me is looking back at the last 3 months, in this case, January, February, and March, and ask myself, what worked? What worked in the first 3 months? What do I want to keep doing? So one thing that worked very well for me in my business was the migration. We did not hire an external firm. We did it between me and my assistant. We went at it and executed a flawless migration. And I say flawless because my measure is the satisfaction of my clients. We migrated a huge business to a new platform and did not have one complaint from my clients. As far as they're concerned, things went smoothly. Tell you the truth, there was a little bit of chaos in the back end of it, but they never experienced it. So when I say a flawless migration is what worked for me, is because my client, it was a breeze for them. All they are experiencing right now, my client, is the thought. So many new cool things that we're adding to their experience of working with us because of this migration. However, in the bucket of what do I want to stop, I want to stop the migration mindset. Because in order for us to produce that flawless migration, me and my assistant have been in a migration mindset. And we dropped the ball. I dropped the ball on focusing on selling, on focusing on generating revenue in the business, because we're only two people, right? We have a contractor here and there when we need to, but we're only two people. So we have to focus our brain on some things, and we focus it on migration. So one of the things I want to stop doing, because that's the second question, is the migration mindset and go back to a sales mindset for the next quarter. That's one of the biggest things I want to stop doing. The third question that you want to ask yourself in the quarterly review is, what do I want to add for the next quarter? We're going to stop doing some things. We're going to keep doing some things. And then we're going to add. From a business perspective, what I want to add is actually something that most people will not think of. It's spirituality back into my business. And I'll tell you a little bit story on that. For me, when I think about selling, I think about service. When I think about growing my sales, I think about serving more people. And to me, that has a huge component in spirituality. Not that I teach spirituality or that I coach spirituality, but to approach business and selling from that lens in the world of capitalism, I have to lean in strongly into my spirituality, not to go crazy. And I think part of what happened in the first 3 months is leaning into this very heavy, operationalized part of the business and parts of who I am. I dropped the focus that I had on building up and sustaining my own spirituality so that I could sell and drive revenue in my business from a place of service. So I want to add that back as a habitual behavior. And for me, the best way that I have to build a habit, and here's the thing, this is where behavioral science comes in. People think of consistency as something that you do every day, like consistently every day. To me, consistency is not that. And I did a podcast recently on consistency called The Fetish of Consistency, like how, as an industry, we misunderstand consistency. And so this, if you've listened to that podcast, this will be very familiar to you. Consistency is not about me bringing my spirituality every single day forefront in my personal life so that I can sell from a place of ethic. It's the consistency of being able to drop it and bring it back easily. And the way for me that I'm the most effective in scaling back up an habit is through a structured challenge. So for me, right now, I'm taking one of the books that I've been reading for almost 15 years now that's is my spiritual book. And I'm going to read a verse of that book every day. And that has 81 verse. That particular book has 81 verse. And I'm going to do it most days, one verse a day, it's about 5 pages every day, to bring back up all that I know of my spirituality forefront so that I can sell from a place of ease, from a place of service, ethically. So that's just one glance into one of the very different way that I'm thinking about business. And one thing I'm going to add into my personal life so that I can influence my business behavior. And I'll tell you another thing from a personal behavior is it's actually a health behavior. It's a health behavior that has worked. So it's part of the what's worked, part of my review. It actually worked beautifully. And I'm going to teach you a piece of nugget on behavioral science. It's my dental health. I know, right? So if you think about my own personal journey, overall, my mental health, about 10 years ago, my physical health, my relationship to food, my relationship to my body, my relationship to movement. And now I am to my dental health journey because everything was going like 10 out of 10. And then in January, I went to my annual dentist appointment and my dentist read me the riot act. It's like, your dental health is not doing so well. I'm like, oh, surprise. So since January, I've been on the journey of rebuilding my dental health habits. And I use a tenet of behavioral transformation, which is habit coupling. Habit coupling is when you want to build a new habit, you couple it, like you merge it with another habit that is solid in execution. And for me, one of the things that is solid in execution is my nighttime routine. And that has been ongoing for probably 7 years when I started to address nervous system well-being. And I have a very pleasant night routine, which include brushing my teeth. And one of the things my dentist read me the riot act on was my flossing. I did not know that. There's a certain amount of time you should be brushing your teeth. I learned so much in that last dentist appointment. And the efficacy of an electric toothbrush versus a manual toothbrush. I went out in the world, I researched the various toothbrush, and it is true that an electric toothbrush has a better efficacy. I doubted that for years. So my dentist sold me on it. So now I have a new toothbrush. I brush my teeth twice a day with that toothbrush and I floss every night. And I couple that with my nighttime routine, which happens effortlessly 9 nights out of 10. So I couple that with something that works very well. And in my 3rd month now of doing it, and there was a lot of resistance, but now it's becoming easier and easier because I'm doing it at the same time of something that I'm enjoying. So behavior coupling here is the principle that I use to make that happen. So I looked at my first quarter, both personally and business-wise, identify what worked, what I wanted to stop, and what I want to add. And then I also read on marketing trends, because marketers like Professional Marketing Association do the same thing, right? They look at constantly statistics and survey of what works and what doesn't. And I look at the latest observation on marketing, what I'm hearing from clients, what I'm seeing from the other professional I'm mentoring. And then I looked at my tactic for the next quarter and I made some tweaks. I made some change. Nothing drastic. Like I'm not burning down my business and rebuilding. I'm making some small tweaks that matches how people right now are purchasing in the world. So let me walk you through some of those changes. And for those who are watching on YouTube right now, you're going to see me sideways because now I'm looking at my whiteboard because I want to share some real tactic here. One of the things that I'm making a change on is my tagline. I like to use a tagline to be able to bounce my decision on from a day-to-day basis in my business. And my tagline for the next quarter and potentially for the rest of the year is now credibility, community, and consistency, which means that every small decision that I'm making day-to-day basis has to fit in within one of those three pillars. It's either upticking my credibility, upticking my community with my audience and my client, and upticking my consistency of showing up. Again, with this very unique lens on consistency. Why did I make a change and integrated the word credibility? Because of something I call the competency recession. If you are part of my community, you read a newsletter on that about a week ago. Go check out my Instagram feed. I made a reel on that about the same time, and I'm likely going to bring that into the podcast next week. We have a competency recession in our industry. That's why I'm bringing credibility forward. So here's my plan for April. So we're halfway through this right now. And tomorrow we're launching my online community. That's one of the reasons why I chose the CRM that I have right now, because it gives me this ability to host a modern, fresh online community. From a credibility perspective, I'm bringing back something on the podcast. So for all of you in my audience on the podcast, I'll be launching an expert series. I haven't done one of those in probably 3 or 4 years on the podcast, and it's going to be an expert series on GLP-1. How should we think about GLP-1 in a weight-neutral health industry? And I so far have 8 experts confirmed. Louise Adam from Australia is coming. Virgi Tovar is coming. Reagan Chaston is coming. Each one of them will be exploring a different angle of GLP-1 and many more experts. From a sales perspective, remember one of my number one shift is a sales mindset. I'm launching the Spring Biz Reset, which is happening on April 24th. You're going to see a lot of small events. And that is the reason why I'm going to do a lot of small events in months to come, is because of what's happening in the world right now. We can't ignore what's happening in the world. People are very insecure. I'm insecure because of political issue, economical issue, all the things that are happening in the world. People are feeling anxious. People are feeling insecure. People are focused on short-term results. Not only short-term result in meaning of wanting to get result right now, not so much in my world, but they don't want to commit for long-term program, right? Very few people are willing to commit 3 months of their life, not knowing what's going to happen next week. That is why I'm taking some bigger program, chunk them up in smaller pieces, or I'm bringing back something I used to do 5 years ago. I stopped doing that during the pandemic, or right at the beginning of the pandemic, because people were committing to longer program during the pandemic and afterwards. But before the pandemic, I used to do immersive clinics, which was 2-day intensive learning instead of small learning of an hour over 6 weeks. So for an example, I used to teach my body image coaching mentorship in 2 days. So it was a Friday, Saturday, 6 hours on Friday, 5 hours on Saturday. And we would go through very intensely of all the curriculum. Instead of what I've been doing in the last 4 years or so, is teaching it over 6, 7, 8 weeks, but smaller chunk, 1 hour every week. So I'm adapting my program to what people are wanting now, which is very quick, short-term commitment. They want to see the result right now and then. So watch for an example, the body image coaching mentorship coming in an immersive format. And I'm going to drum roll May 1st and 2nd of this year. So that's going to be my spring edition of the body image mentorship. I do it usually twice a year, the spring and the fall. So that's going to be May 1st and May 2nd instead of May and June. That's one of the strategy I'm doing. And I'm going to do business growth sprints. I used to do something called a business mentorship over a 6-month period. Instead of doing it over 6 months, I'm going to do it over 6 weeks. And then people can, if they want to continue to work with me past 6 weeks, they can renew. And then we can do another sprint together, and they can renew 10 times if they want to, but it's going to give them this ability for short term instead of 6 months. So business mentorship, 6 weeks instead of 6 months. And I'm bringing back something called the lightning session. Again, something that I used to do pre-pandemic, where you can book one session with me. And that is to help people who are feeling uncertain to work with me. Perhaps they just got to know me and they feel really insecure. The lightning session, you can book one session. There's going to be limited quantity of that because obviously I can't do just one-off session. And the people that are in my private community, my paid client community, will get the first grab on the lightning session and at a reduced price as an honor of them being my client. So that's my April goal. My May goal is to go back on the road traveling, first of all. So April, I just came back from Mexico. May, probably towards the end of May, I'm going to be flying out to potentially Brazil and spend 8 weeks in Rio. Never been to Rio in my life. That's my personal goal for May. But from a business perspective, I'm going to be launching a newsletter in May. I'm going to continue my GLP-1 series. And then I'm going to launch a brand new webinar I've never done before called the Food Noise Webinar. Now, I haven't finalized the name of it, but food noise is a very trendy word in the marketing. And I'm going to capitalize on it because that's how people talk about what I do. When we talk about eating behavior, when we talk about mindset, if there was one word that people understand right now, if that's what you're doing right now, if you are a nutritionist working with people on their eating behavior from a mental perspective as much as physical, you should be capitalizing on the word food noise. That's how people understand what you do. So I got to come up with a name on that, but probably mid-May, there's going to be a food noise webinar, and that's going to lead into another immersive, mindset coaching immersive. That's going to happen the last week of May or the first week of June. I'm going to also be bundling my 4 mini courses that I have on eating behavior, body image, 2 other ones. I'm going to bundle them up and sell them on a flash sale and do some more lightning sessions. And June, probably going to end the GLP-1 series by then, but our focus is going to be website refresh to really bring up and prepare for my 10th year anniversary in business and really shouting that loudly on my website. Again, that whole credibility angle. I don't claim my amazingness enough. And it's actually somebody that I met while traveling, Jordan. If you're listening to this, it's because of you, of how amazing of a person that I am and amazing stories. And I really want to refresh my website from that perspective. I'm going to probably do another Biz Reset in second week of July because that's going to be the end of Q2. Relaunch the groundwork and prepare for the non-diet coaching certification. So these are some of the plans that I have here on my board. And I'm going to end this because I'm looking at the time and I've been talking for long already. I want to give you my top 5 intentional words for the next quarter. Number 1, revenue through service. Bringing that back forefront with me. I hope you can see an alignment here, shifting my mindset. So for me, it's about building my revenue through service, adaptability, innovation, pipeline, and I want to be busy serving. These are my 5 focus for the next 3 months. And I'm going to engage in achieving all of that. Like a lot of people will look at that and say, oh my God, Stephanie, you got a lot going on. Well, first of all, I have a team of people, right? I've already talked about one. There's more people that I can pull in to do my website review and so forth. There's a lot of this. I have labor because I have a higher level of revenue. I can afford to hire people. And I'm an expert in behavior. I'm an expert in behavior change, and my first client is me. So I'm going to take all the tools in my toolbox so that the behavior that needs to change, that needs to be added into my life to deliver these results are easy. They're not overwhelming. And I'm going to be using 2 tools particularly. One is called intentional thinking. And if you come to the Biz Reset on April 24th, I'll be teaching part of this. Another one called powerful thinking. These are 2 tools to work on your belief system and your thoughts so that you can deliver the behavior with ease, joy, and pleasure. Maybe overwhelming for you listening to that, but as a behavior change specialist, to me, I can have fun doing all of this. So if you want to get into that way of thinking, looking and doing your business, I invite you to join us in the Spring Reset, April 24th. And if you have any question after listening to this long podcast, you can always come on Instagram and DM me with your question or even telling me if this podcast was helpful to you. I would love to hear from you. I hope this was helpful. I love you, my sister, and I'll see you on the next podcast. Bye. If this resonates with you, the next step is the groundwork, my Beyond the Food foundational program for health professionals ready to go beyond the food and rethink how they approach nutrition, eating, and health behavior, starting with themselves. You can go to www.stephaniedodier.com/groundwork and join us now.